acta non verba. That's what it says is the official crest of a fancy private school in the Las Vegas, Nevada area. Acta non verba. See that? And then JMA in those three corners. The motto splashed across the front there, Latin for actions, not words. And the JMA is because this is the James Madison Academy. Here's the school's website. This private school is called the James Madison Academy. It's named after James Madison, one of the founding fathers, credited as the brains behind the Second Amendment to the Constitution, which of course enshrines the right for Americans to keep guns. And that, you might imagine, is why the James Madison Academy in Las Vegas picked these two guys to address their graduating class earlier this month. On the left there is David Keene. He spent 2 terms as president of the National Rifle Association, the NRA. He now sits on the NRA's board of directors. On the right there is a man named John Lott. He is a very influential person in sort of gun organization circles. He's an advocate for more people having guns with fewer rules about having them or using them. He wrote a book that people call the Bible of the NRA. Both David Keene and John Lott were invited to address the graduates from James Madison Academy. And they both said yes. They put on their robes and their funny hats. They traveled to Las Vegas. They prepared speeches about following your hopes and dreams, also about the importance of the Second Amendment, right? That's kind of why they were there. The school told them that as a thank you for giving those speeches, they would both be awarded the James Madison Academy's Keeper of the Constitution Award. This is them having received their statues to commemorate their receiving those awards. And all of this, I don't know, it seems a little bit on the nose, right? You know, gun-themed school gets gun-themed speakers to give gun-themed speeches and receive a sort of gun-themed award for having done so. So it's a little on the nose. There were some other signs, too, that a vigilant person might have picked up on early on. Let's look, for example, at that website again for the James Madison Academy. Parts of it look quite official, like the things you might expect. But then there's little things that seem a little bit weird, like this. Call us at 800-870-8 blah, blah, blah to apply. Call us to apply. What is that, like operators are standing by at your toll-free number? What are you, an ambulance-chasing law firm? Is this an infomercial? Also, if you run a history of the web address for the James Madison Academy's website, it turns out the school's website has only existed since April of this year. That's weird. Also, the Keeper of the Constitution Award, for which those guys got the little statue thing, Keeper of the Constitution Award doesn't exist. There's no record of it anywhere. There's no record, for example, of anybody else having ever received that award. Turns out the James Madison Academy doesn't exist either. Unbeknownst to these two pro-gun advocates, they were both invited to speak at a fake graduation for a fake school. And they gave their pro-gun speeches in front of 3,044 empty white chairs in a Las Vegas venue. According to one group that tracks gun death statistics, that 3,044 number, that's the number of high school seniors who should have put on their caps and gowns and gotten their high school diplomas this year, but instead they died. They were victims of gun violence, and they never made it to this year's graduation. That's the class of 2021 in gun violence deaths. And it is a dramatic thing to watch a sitting NRA board member telling 3,000 empty chairs that they need to follow their hopes and dreams. They're not going to follow their hopes and dreams. I'm going to play a little video of parts of his speech now, parts of Keene's speech now. I will warn you, this video also includes some upsetting audio from 911 calls made during school shootings. If that is something you would rather not experience, this is me giving you a chance to mute the TV if that is something you don't want to hear. Okay, here we go.
Let me begin by telling you what an honor it is to be here to help celebrate your graduation. Picture for a minute the young James Madison, for whom this school is named. This year, you focused on one of the most important of Madison's amendments, the Second Amendment. There are some who continue to fight to gut the Second Amendment, but I'd be willing to bet that many of you will be among those who stand up and prevent them from succeeding.
911, is your emergency?
Defending it is a challenge and a duty that Americans like you
They were shooting into my classroom.
who understand what has made the country the envy of the world must accept as their own.
Okay, is anybody injured?
Yes, a lot of blood. Please help, please.
An overwhelming majority of you will go on to college, while others may decide their dream dictates a different route to success.
School.
Okay, do you know how many people are injured?
So my advice to you is simple enough. Follow your dream and make it a reality.
My son is in Stillman Douglas. My daughter just texted me from school. She's at Stillman Douglas.
And never for a minute doubt that you can achieve that dream. Thank you.
Follow your dream and make it a reality. Never for a minute doubt that you can achieve that dream. An overwhelming majority of you will go on to college. There are some who will continue to fight to gut the Second Amendment, but I'd be willing to bet that many of you will be among those who will stand up and prevent them from succeeding. That is not going to happen from any of those students. Both that NRA board member, David Keene, and the pro-gun commentator who also spoke at that, they gave those speeches in front of those 3,000 empty seats, representing kids who did not graduate this year because they were killed in gun violence in the United States. Keene and John Lott were told that before the actual event, they needed to participate in a dress rehearsal, test the lights and cameras and stuff. That's what this video is from. After the run-through, they were told the actual graduation was canceled because of a credible threat of violence. BuzzFeed News called up the pro-NRA commentator guy today after the videos were published. He said he had no idea what had happened here. He told BuzzFeed, quote, "You're telling me the whole thing was a setup? No, I didn't know that." We've reached out to David Keene, the sitting NRA board member, to ask his response. We haven't heard back from him. This remarkable demonstrative experiment, this stunt, was orchestrated by a gun safety advocacy group called Change the Ref. The group pointed out today that, quote, ironically, had the men conducted a proper background check on the school, they would have seen that the school is fake. They said they were trying to illustrate here that the thousands of students lost to gun violence won't be forgotten. And they wanted to force pro-gun advocates to literally face the consequences of their policies. They call those 3,000 empty seats the lost class. This advocacy group, Change the Ref, was founded by Manuel and Patricia Oliver. In 2018, their son Joaquin was killed in the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Joaquin was 17 years old. He was a great writer, an athlete, loved music. Joaquin's father, Manuel, said today that he was not scared to pull off this sort of unbelievable piece of advocacy and honestly, subterfuge. He said, quote, "We need to show we're brave and we're not afraid of these guys. We've already felt the worst possible situation. There's no threat that can make me feel different." Actions, not words. Joining us now is Manuel Oliver. Mr. Oliver, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You did a great job presenting what we did. I love it. Thank you.
Well, tell me about Change the Ref and tell me about how you came up with this idea.
Well, Change the Ref is a consequence of losing our beautiful son, Joaquin. Joaquin loved to play basketball. He was a great writer, like you said. And he mentioned that sometimes when he played basketball, he was feeling bad calls from the referees. He was always looking for a fair game. Then when I saw what happened in Parkland and I got more involved with the news and the reality behind that episode and every day's gun violence, we thought that the referees in DC, the ones that are supposed to give us a fair game, the ones that are supposed to make the right calls, are ignoring us. So that's how we started with Change the Ref. My wife, Patricia, myself, my daughter, Andrea, we love the fact that the name came from Joaquin and not from us. So it's an extension of Joaquin's activism.
I know that you and your wife, Patricia, were on site, were sort of behind the scenes and able to watch why these pro-NRA guys were giving their speeches in front of that sea of empty chairs. I just have to ask what that was like for you. It must have been emotional.
It was very emotional. We were not allowed. They told me that they might recognize me. I had no idea that I was recognizable. So, but that we didn't want to take the risk of anything going wrong. So they locked us in that RV, and we were watching the whole thing. Very emotional, but because we were part of a process, we knew exactly every step, everything that was happening. It came out exactly how we planned.
Do you feel any more hope than you have felt in the past that there will be action on any element of gun safety, including background checks, which you obviously have been pushing to the forefront here? Do you feel any more hopeful, or do you see any other reason for other people to hope that something might finally change?
I'm going to give you a great reason for me to think that things are different. I am having an interview with you, not because there was a mass shooting, but because we are doing something to prevent it from happening. So now we handle the conversation. We don't need to wait for a new tragedy to bring the subject. And that is a great advance for us, for everyone that is fighting this epidemic that is killing people every single day. Preventable, but just because some of our leaders are part of a problem, it's kind of on hold being part of a solution. Well, I think that we control now the information. We do things like the one that you just saw. We're not the only group that is working in this direction. And hopefully that young generation will make things happen. It's not gonna happen tomorrow or next year, but it will happen in a few years, just like it happened to the tobacco industry. I've always said that we need to advertise the truth. And Patricia and myself, we use art and we do a lot of campaigns in partnership with the most creative people from around the planet to make things happen. We believe in this. We need to bring out a reality that has been ignored for years. Enough of lies. These two guys, this is not about them. So I don't even care how they feel. This is about those empty chairs. This is about my son, Joaquin. My wife, Patricia, was the one that received Joaquin's diploma when he was supposed to be graduating from high school. So I know how that feels. And I'm glad that I can do this. I'm glad that we can find things that empower us. And maybe they are giving power to many parents that don't know how to react. They don't know how to do things. They maybe haven't found themselves doing something similar. Well, you're more than invited. We need to keep on being parents, and no one will stop that from happening.
Manuel Oliver, the co-founder of the gun reform group Change the Ref, father to Joaquin Oliver. It's a real honor to have you here tonight, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was my honor. Thank you.
When it comes to trying to prevent gun violence, President Biden and his Attorney General announced some action today that was not the typical stuff that Democrats announce in terms of their menu of potential actions, something they think will make a difference in short order. That story's next. Stay with us.